You're the one they've been talking about.
Thanks, everyone's been liking the videos, but now I get to draw you, Giblet, in 4 different styles. But let's start this video off with the cartoon style. We're going to be using our paint pens, but I have to address something right off the bat. As you can see, I screwed up. I thought I hit the record button on the first couple of minutes, but actually I didn't, and wound up missing the base layer of paint pens that I put down. But let's just pick it up like as if it never happened.
A bullshit? A bullshit?
All kidding aside, I'm going to give this a little bit more TLC than I give some of my other cartoon effects, and the reason is it's a very complex design. It's actually one of my favorite designs that I've come across. It reminds me almost as if Gizmo from Gremlins met like a deranged stuffed animal, and it's just freaking awesome, and I love it. It's all the little fun staples and scar marks and all the little matted fur that throughout the design that just make it really unique and fun to want to draw. All those little intricate details, but we can bring them out with some amazing line work, and that will achieve the cartoon effect with the nice little cell shading, but the line work is going to be the key. This is important to not only the cartoon effect, but to make it look realistic in a cartoonistic sense. I didn't want to go for something like a Cuphead or a Simpsons. I figured I had to keep it something tangible within a cartoon spectrum. Up next we have the puzzle effect, and we have Bob Ross here to help us with all the little puzzle effect pieces. The puzzle effect is a really cool way to highlight the cartoon effect in a fun new way. Essentially what we're doing is breaking apart the form into little tiny puzzle pieces, and we're going to use those little individual puzzle pieces to change the color variations of lights and shadows. So it'll still be reminiscent of the character, but it'll also give 3 dimensions ever so slightly in this weird little puzzle piece effect. And I don't know, I really love it. It was something that I created out of fun, and I kind of throw it in there. And since the game is highlighted with tons of puzzles, I thought it was a perfect opportunity to showcase it. If you want to try this effect out for yourself, one thing that I would recommend is don't just randomly throw the puzzle pieces in. Think about where the natural folds of the cloth, where elbows will bend, where knuckles will bend, knees, etc. That will give you kind of the turning point where you can add the convex or concave shapes, and that will give you a really good idea of how to break apart the form into these fun little pieces. And then the best part is just coloring them in. You can use alcohol markers, paint pens, or even color pencils if you don't have it. That's the fun of this particular effect. You don't need all the fancy art pieces to just create a really cool effect. And that's another thing that I really want to stress with my channel, is that you don't need the best art supplies to create just something really fun and cool. A lot of times people ask me what art supplies I use, and I try to make higher end stuff that is still fun and whimsical or reminiscent of a lot of the stuff that you're going to see online. I don't try to do things that you couldn't do without any other cheaper application. Even if all you have is a simple Crayola marker, I've done tutorials where you could take Crayola products and make it awesome. So did you enjoy this one? I always enjoy doing it, but let me know in the comments as we now head on over to the pixel style. And let me ask you, are you a fan of Satoru Gojo? I'm gonna call it Domain Expansion, Art of Infinity. I could just see like a kaleidoscope of colors coming out behind Gojo right now. Now, for anyone who hasn't heard of the pixel effect, it's pretty much a straightforward effect. We basically want to break this down into an old NES-style pixel art. Once you've mapped out a basic grid, you can color it, once again, similar to the puzzle pieces, however you want. And that's what I really like about the way I set this particular 4 different styles up. Each style builds on the next. They're all similar cartoonistic styles, but they each have their own unique blend to it to create a complete cohesive piece. It might just look like random blobbed squares, but you gotta trust the process, and you also have to remember that back in the 80s and the 90s when we were playing video games, that's just kind of how it looked. It allowed for your imagination to kind of take hold. But now we just add some grids and we finish off this style. Last but certainly not least, we have the realistic, and I'm using Blitz for this. Yeah, I'm not going to say Blitzo and get yelled at, but it's kind of funny because he kind of looks like Giblet.
I'm sorry, but that was a flawless presentation of what we should do.
No need to apologize, Blitz, but thank you for the wonderful compliment. But now let's try some realistic with Giblet. The entire piece up until this point took me about an hour to an hour and a half, and this little section took me about the same amount of time. It just goes to show you the amount of time it takes to do anything even semi-realistic, and it's something that I'm going to showcase in a lot of my upcoming shorts. Is just the volume of time when it takes to render out something to get it as either realistic or hyper-realistic as possible. You see, it's not just about the rendering of an eye patch or an eyeball or simply flicking in some hairs. It's thinking about where the light will land and using your reference, and then maybe bending the rules between the reference and your drawing to make it feel a little more realistic. As you can see with when I'm throwing the hairs in, I could go with how the game has it, but if I was going to make it realistic and have these little tufts of hair flicker out, they would kind of flop in all general directions. They wouldn't just kind of curve in one general direction. So here's a really good tip if you want to get better at your realism game. The thing you'd have to do most is study shapes in light, but also study values. I want you to also study objects around you. So this leather patch, you might not have a leather patch, but you might have a belt at home. You could see how it reflects and shimmers and how all the little dents sometimes get presented in higher light, but then get muted in lower light. When you start to see and study these objects and shapes in movement and in space, you'll actually get a better idea of how to render them when you're on the page. Something that I like to do that is not necessarily indicative of realism, but is more indicative of my style, is I like to add lots of black. So as you can see, I'm throwing in a lot more darker value than is necessary. But for me, that's more of my homage to Italian Renaissance and the chiaroscuro, which is like the obscene dark shading of light to dark. So I really like to punch in those values because it gives a lot more three-dimension. You can almost see the depth when you add that much dark, but that's just something that I like to do, and it's basically only done after lots of years of kind of careful studying. I don't just throw it in there willy-nilly. I kind of look for where the darkest darks are and really punch those in. One final tip before we wrap things up is also know the paper that you're going to use. Different papers have different grains and different textures, so you can use them to your advantage, but they also might be a disadvantage. So if you're going to do a lot of color pencil work, then you might want to consider something with a little bit of a smoother tooth to the paper, instead of something a little bit rougher like a mixed media paper. Mixed media is better for alcohol markers and paint pens, and a little bit of color pencils, which is why I use it a lot. But if you're doing just color pencil, then you consider something a little bit different. And just like that, we are finished. Which section was your favorite? Let me know in the comments. And as always, I'll see you all in the next video.